The moment their eyes met across her bedroom doorway, time froze. Sarah stood there, exposed and vulnerable, while Mark's face flushed crimson with embarrassment. Neither could have predicted how this accidental encounter would completely transform both their lives, healing wounds they'd carried for years. If you're enjoying this story, please hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more emotional human stories that will touch your heart. Your support helps us continue sharing these powerful moments that remind us we're all connected through our shared experiences. Mark Wilson clutched his phone tightly as he paced the hospital corridor, his heart hammering against his ribs. The call from his daughter's school had sent him racing across town, abandoning the quarterly report he'd been finalizing for tomorrow's presentation. "Mr. Wilson?" The doctor emerged from the examination room. "Emma's going to be fine. The fall caused a mild concussion, but there's no serious damage." Relief washed over him, but it was quickly replaced by a familiar anxiety. This was the third emergency this month. As a single father to an energetic 8-year-old, Mark was struggling to balance his demanding job as a financial analyst with Emma's needs. His boss, Sarah Mitchell, had been understanding so far, but her patience had to be wearing thin. "Can I see her?" Mark asked. The doctor nodded. "We'd like to keep her for observation for a few hours. You can take her home this evening." Mark entered the room where Emma lay on the hospital bed, her small face brightening when she saw him. "Daddy," she exclaimed. "I did a cartwheel at recess and got dizzy and hit my head on the monkey bars." Mark sat beside her, gently brushing her dark curls away from the bandage on her forehead. "You scared me, kiddo." "I'm sorry," Emma said, her blue eyes, so like her mother's, filling with tears. "Are you mad?" "No, sweetheart. I'm just glad you're okay." He kissed her forehead. "But maybe we take a break from gymnastics for a while?" As Emma drifted off to sleep, Mark stepped into the hallway to call Sarah. His stomach knotted as he dialed her number. "Mark? Where are you?" "The Henderson meeting starts in 20 minutes. Sarah's voice was crisp and professional as always. "I'm at Memorial Hospital. Emma had an accident at school." There was a pause. "Is she all right?" "Yes, just a concussion. They're keeping her for observation, but we should be home tonight. Don't worry about the meeting. I'll handle it." Another pause. "This is the third emergency this month, Mark." He closed his eyes, leaning against the wall. "I know. I'm sorry. We need to talk about this situation. The team needs reliability." "I understand. Take care of Emma. We'll discuss this tomorrow." The call ended, and Mark slumped into a chair. 3 years after losing his wife to cancer, he was still struggling to find his footing. The promotion to senior analyst had seemed like a blessing at first, better pay, better hours, but the responsibilities had grown exponentially under Sarah's leadership. She was brilliant and driven, having climbed to the position of department director at just 35, but she had little patience for personal complications interfering with work. Mark had heard the rumors about her, that she was cold, calculating, married to her job. Some called her the Ice Queen behind her back. He'd never seen that side of her personally, but he feared that was about to change. The next morning, after dropping Emma at school with strict instructions to avoid the monkey bars, Mark arrived at the office an hour early. He needed to finish the quarterly report before his inevitable conversation with Sarah. The office was quiet, most employees not due for another hour. Mark settled at his desk, diving into the spreadsheets and projections that needed finalizing. He was so absorbed in his work that he didn't notice the time until his phone buzzed with a text from Sarah. "My office. 9 a.m. Mark glanced at his watch. 8:45, he quickly saved his work and gathered his materials, his stomach churning with anxiety. Was this it? Was he about to be demoted or worse? At precisely 9 a.m., he knocked on Sarah's office door. No answer. He knocked again, then tried the handle. The door was unlocked. "Sarah," he called, pushing the door open slightly. "It's Mark. You wanted to see me?" When no response came, he stepped inside. Her office was empty, her laptop open on the desk, a half-empty coffee cup beside it. Perhaps she'd stepped out momentarily. As he debated whether to wait or come back later, he heard water running from the small private bathroom attached to her office. Of course, she was in the bathroom. He'd wait. Mark was reviewing his notes when the bathroom door suddenly opened. He looked up, prepared to greet Sarah, but the words died in his throat. Sarah stood in the doorway, a towel clutched to her chest, her hair wet and dripping onto her bare shoulders. For a split second, before she could react, the towel slipped slightly, revealing more than either of them had ever anticipated in a professional setting. Their eyes met in mutual shock. Mark immediately turned away, his face burning with embarrassment. "I'm so sorry," he stammered, backing toward the door. "You texted to meet, the door was unlocked, I didn't realize." "Mark, wait." Sarah's voice was surprisingly calm. "Just turn around for a moment while I get dressed." He stood facing the door, mortified beyond words. He heard rustling behind him, the sound of a drawer opening and closing. "You can turn around now." Sarah had put on a blouse and was securing her skirt. Her face was flushed, but she didn't seem angry. "I'm truly sorry," Mark said. "I should have waited outside." Sarah ran a hand through her damp hair. "No, it's my fault. I spilled coffee all over myself just before our meeting. I keep a change of clothes here for emergencies." She gestured to the bathroom. "I thought I had time for a quick shower." An awkward silence fell between them. "I should go," Mark said finally. "No." Sarah took a deep breath. "We still need to talk about your situation. Please, sit down." Mark reluctantly took a seat across from her desk, unable to meet her eyes. He braced himself for the worst. "Mark, your work has been exemplary since you joined the team," Sarah began, her voice professional. "But these absences are becoming problematic." "I understand," he said quietly. "Emma is everything to me, but I know the job requires commitment." "How old is your daughter now?" 8. Sarah nodded. "And you've been raising her alone since your wife passed?" "Yes. For 3 years now." Sarah was quiet for a moment, studying him. Then she did something unexpected. She smiled, a genuine smile that transformed her usually serious face. "I'm not going to fire you, Mark." He looked up, surprised. "You're not?" "No. But we do need to find a better solution." She leaned forward. "I've been thinking about this since yesterday. What if we modified your role?" "Modified?" "You could work remotely 3 days a week. That would give you more flexibility for Emma's needs while still maintaining your responsibilities. We'd need to adjust some of your client-facing duties, but your analytical skills are what we value most." Mark stared at her, stunned. "You'd do that?" Something flickered across Sarah's face, a vulnerability he'd never seen before. "Contrary to office gossip, I'm not completely heartless. I understand personal struggles." "Thank you," Mark said, emotion thick in his voice. "This means everything to me." Sarah nodded, then glanced at her watch. "The Henderson presentation is in 30 minutes. Are you ready?" "Yes, I finished the report this morning." "Good. Let's focus on that for now." She stood, signaling the end of their conversation. "And Mark? Let's both agree to forget about the other incident." "Already forgotten," he assured her, though the image of Sarah standing in the doorway, vulnerable and human, had shattered his perception of the Ice Queen forever. The following weeks brought unexpected changes. Mark's modified schedule allowed him to be more present for Emma while still excelling at work. The arrangement was working better than he could have hoped. What he hadn't anticipated was the subtle shift in his relationship with Sarah. The awkward incident had somehow broken down a wall between them. In meetings, she occasionally sought his opinion directly. Once, she even laughed at a joke he made, a warm, genuine laugh that surprised everyone in the room. One evening, as Mark was packing up to leave, Sarah appeared at his desk. "How's the new arrangement working out?" she asked. "Wonderfully," he replied. "Emma's teacher says she seems more settled. And I've been able to keep up with all my projects." "I'm glad to hear it." Sarah hesitated, then added, "I was wondering if you might want to grab coffee sometime. To discuss your career trajectory." Something in her tone made Mark look up. There was an uncertainty in her expression that he'd never seen before. "I'd like that," he said. Their coffee meeting extended into dinner when their professional discussion gave way to more personal topics. Mark found himself telling Sarah about meeting his late wife in college, their dreams of a big family, and how cancer had shattered those dreams, leaving him alone with a 5-year-old who asked for her mother every night. To his surprise, Sarah opened up as well. She spoke of growing up with a single mother who worked 3 jobs, of putting herself through business school, of sacrificing personal relationships for career advancement. "People think I'm cold because I'm focused," she admitted. "But the truth is, I've just never found a balance between work and personal life." "It's not easy," Mark agreed. "I'm still figuring it out myself." As they parted that evening, something had shifted between them, a connection neither had expected to find. Over the next few months, their professional relationship evolved into friendship. Sarah began joining Mark and Emma for occasional weekend outings, a trip to the zoo, a picnic in the park. Emma, initially shy around "Daddy's boss," quickly warmed to Sarah's attentive questions and genuine interest in her stories. One Sunday afternoon, as Emma fed ducks at the pond, Sarah turned to Mark. "She's remarkable," she said softly. "You're doing an amazing job with her." "Some days I feel like I'm failing her completely," Mark admitted. "She deserves to have a mother in her life." Sarah was quiet for a moment. "Children are resilient. What matters is that she knows she's loved." Their eyes met, and Mark felt something stir inside him, a feeling he'd thought had died with his wife. Before he could examine it further, Emma came running back, demanding they all get ice cream. As summer turned to fall, Mark noticed Sarah spending more time with them. She helped Emma with a science project, taught her to make her grandmother's cookie recipe, even attended her school play. The office rumors shifted from "the Ice Queen" to speculation about her relationship with Mark. Neither of them defined what was happening between them. They were colleagues, friends, something more, existing in a comfortable space of possibility. Then came the night that changed everything. Emma had been invited to a sleepover at her best friend's house, giving Mark a rare evening to himself. On impulse, he invited Sarah over for dinner. "I should warn you," he said as she arrived, "my culinary skills are limited to about 5 dishes." Sarah laughed, holding up a bottle of wine. "Then it's good I brought reinforcements." The evening was relaxed and comfortable. They cooked together, talked, laughed. After dinner, they moved to the living room with their wine glasses. "I never thanked you properly," Mark said suddenly. "For what?" "For understanding. For changing my schedule. For seeing me as a father, not just an employee." Sarah looked down at her glass. "I should be thanking you." "Me? For what?" "For seeing me as a person." She met his eyes. "That day in my office, when you accidentally saw me, I was mortified. But then I realized something. For the first time since taking this position, someone at work saw me as human. Vulnerable. Imperfect." She smiled softly. It was terrifying. And liberating. Mark set his glass down and moved closer to her on the couch. "I've always seen you, Sarah. even before that day. The air between them changed, charged with unspoken feelings. Mark gently touched her cheek, and Sarah leaned into his hand, her eyes closing briefly. "I never expected this," she whispered. "Neither did I." When their lips met, it felt like coming home after a long journey. Gentle at first, then deeper, years of loneliness melting away in the warmth of connection. Later, as they lay together in the quiet darkness of his bedroom, Sarah traced patterns on his chest. "I'm scared," she admitted. "I've never been good at relationships. And this is complicated. I'm your boss, there's Emma to consider." Mark took her hand, kissing her palm. "We'll figure it out. One day at a time." The transition wasn't seamless. There were HR discussions about their relationship, policy forms to sign, adjustments to the reporting structure. Emma had questions, concerns, moments of confusion about Sarah's changing role in their lives. But gradually, they found their rhythm. Sarah's apartment lease ended, and she moved into Mark's house. Emma helped her decorate the spare bedroom as a home office. Family dinners became a nightly ritual, homework sessions at the kitchen table a team effort. One evening, as Mark watched Sarah helping Emma practice her spelling words, he felt a fullness in his heart he'd thought he'd never experience again. Different from what he'd had with his wife, but no less precious. Later that night, as they lay in bed, Sarah turned to him with serious eyes. "I need to tell you something." Mark's heart skipped. "What is it?" "Remember that day in my office? When you saw me?" He smiled. "How could I forget? I wasn't completely honest about why I was showering there." She took a deep breath. "The truth is, I'd spent the night at the office. I was working until 3 a.m., then slept on the couch in my office. I'd been doing that 3 or 4 nights a week." "Why?" "Because I had nothing to go home to." Her voice cracked slightly. "My apartment was just a place to store my clothes. Work was everything. I was everything the rumors said, cold, isolated, married to my job." Mark pulled her closer. "And now?" "Now I understand what I was missing." She rested her head on his chest. "That moment, when you saw me vulnerable and still looked at me with respect, it broke something inside me. The walls I'd built. The person I thought I needed to be to succeed." Mark kissed her forehead. "You're still the most brilliant, driven person I know. That hasn't changed. But now I know there's room for more." She looked up at him. "Room for you. For Emma. For a family I never thought I'd have." 1 year after that fateful morning in Sarah's office, they stood together in the backyard of their home, surrounded by friends and colleagues. Emma, wearing a flower crown and a proud smile, scattered rose petals down the makeshift aisle. As Sarah walked toward him in a simple white dress, Mark reflected on the strange path that had led them here, an accidental glimpse, a moment of vulnerability, a broken wall. When they exchanged vows, Sarah included a special promise to Emma: "I will never try to replace your mother, but I will love you with all my heart, support your dreams, and be there for every skin knee and triumph." Emma's response, a fierce hug that nearly knocked Sarah over, brought laughter and tears from everyone present. Later, during their first dance, Sarah whispered in Mark's ear, "Who would have thought that the most embarrassing moment of my professional life would lead to the happiest moment of my personal one?" Mark smiled, holding her close. Sometimes it takes being seen at our most vulnerable to find our greatest strength. As they swayed together under the twinkling lights, surrounded by their chosen family, both knew that some accidents are really beginnings in disguise, doorways to healing, to connection, to coming home. If this story touched your heart, please hit that like button and subscribe to our channel. We share stories of unexpected connections, second chances, and the beautiful ways people find each other against all odds. Your support helps us continue bringing these emotional journeys to life. Remember, sometimes our most embarrassing moments can lead to our greatest blessings, if we're brave enough to stay open to possibility.